This is a question I get a lot from buyers and sellers. By definition, a contingency is basically an absence of certainty. It's something has to happen before another thing can. And in real estate, buyers and sellers experience these very similarly. Mostly it's the buyer. So on a buyer side of a contract, a contingency consists of things like a termination of option period. It's a due diligence period. It just allows them some time once they have a contract in place to make sure everything's okay with the home and what they're buying is what they think it is, get inspections and so forth. There are financing contingencies. If a buyer is obtaining a loan to purchase the home, you need to make sure that the underwriting for the bank approves the house, that it meets certain criteria. Something that falls outside of the financing contingencies, which you wouldn't think it would, is an appraisal. Appraisals are an opinion of value from an independent third party. Banks want to know that they're loaning money on a home, that it's actually worth what they're loaning. And the appraisal value is not the loan amount, it's actually the contract sales price. So if you sell a home at $500 and he's appraised at $500, even though the buyer might be putting 50% down. The more common one that buyers and sellers encounter are contingencies relating to the sale of a home. So as a buyer, you might own a home and you try to get financing without selling your current home, and you've discovered that you need to sell that home, take the equity out of it, or at minimum remove the debt to income, the debt ratio off of your credit bureau to be approved for the new purchase. You make an offer based on the closing of your home. Hopefully as a buyer, you're making offers with a contingency where you already have a contract in place and you're out of most of the contingencies on your buyer's side before you're purchasing the next one. But there's no standard. I mean, you can have a contingency offer without even a contract in place. As a seller, though, the sale of other property is the most common one that you're going to experience. And there are ways that you need to make sure you are protecting yourself in these situations. Repairs are another contingent style item, depending on what kind of loan someone's getting, especially if it's a government-backed loan like a VA or FHA. Lenders, appraisers, inspectors might require certain repairs to actually happen. They normally consist of things like wood-destroying insect reports if there's damage noted or if active infestations exist. Roof leaks are very common as well if there's any kind of water penetration into the home. You also need to worry about rot or just the dilapidated state of a particular home. Most government-backed loans won't let you close on a home that's not safe and that's not healthy to live in. Conventional loans, it's a little different. As long as it meets value, they probably don't care one way or the other. And these types of contingencies for repairs need to be documented, and they need to be done prior to any closing, which normally means a reinspection of those items. The most common contingency that sellers are going to deal with, like I said, sellers are going to deal with all of the same ones buyers do, just on the other side. But the ones that sellers are going to encounter the most often is going to be the sale of someone else's home before they can close on the home they're selling. So, I mean, if that buyer has a home to sell, they need to, as a seller, you really would like them to have that home under contract, out of an option period, past the financing period, the appraisal's in and it's made value. And that makes it what I would say a good contingency. There's all levels of them. This is something that sellers need to make sure we get all the facts and discuss all the scenarios about the potential outcomes. Because as a seller, timelines and making sure you express what you expect from the buyer and the buyer's agent to know and to inform you of during this process, it's imperative to do that all up front. It is a moving process, and you do not want to be accused of not expressing concerns in a timely manner. A common way to ease the tension and the uncertainty of this kind of contract is by adding something simple like a lease back, temporary lease where the seller is allowed to retain possession of the home during the closing and funding of not only the buyer's property to sell, but the property that you're selling. That way you don't actually physically move off site, and you know you have funds, or you know funds will be dispersed to you prior to you actually leaving the home. These are common contingencies throughout the buying and selling process. If you have more questions about this, please call, text, or email me anytime.